Hey, thanks for joining me today. It's Coach Nye here with Mind Over Sport. We're going to do a weekly segment starting today called Tape to Tape with Coach Nye. It's going to be a free will talk. Some of it will be controversial, opinionated, and just reviewing what's going on in the world of sport on hot topics. I wanted to do this because we need to express our feelings, our opinions, not to rant, but our opinions, logical, and give back some logical solutions as well through the challenges that an athlete, a coach, or a parent will have as they deal through the process of going through sport. And it doesn't matter what sport it is, from hockey to football, basketball, baseball, swimming, gymnastics. We may cover it all in some form or whatever. But when I give my opinion or express my feelings on something, I want some feedback. This is what it's all about. I want to hear from you, my followers, the audience out there, with their opinions, with their suggestions, and also with maybe some solutions that we can help put towards the powers to be in this world of sport as well. So we're starting off this week again with Tape to Tape with Coach Nye. The one topic that has been probably heavily spoken about and researched more so in the past 18 months, 2 years, is the state of the mental health of our young athlete or our young people. Before I get into that, the mental health issue has been on forever. We just don't know sometimes if someone across the table or sitting across from you in the aisle of the bus, what they're going through. Give you a little feedback on myself. About 6 years ago, I hit rock bottom. I had a heart attack. I just had lost a position in a company that downsized. I was under stress, family to feed, to clothe, to put a roof over. I think it was the powers to be in my world were telling me something with this, with having a heart attack, that I needed to change my ways. But what happens is I had the heart attack, I was recovering, but I also went into depression. I also gained or had more anxiety built up because I didn't know what was going to happen in the future. And I learned some things through myself, through my journey, that I needed to understand. And that's what mental health is all about to a certain extent, is understanding what you're going through, how you can relate to it or relieve it, and then working through a process to feel better, to get better. Sounds easy, but it's not. Trust me. There's a state of, or a statement that what mental health is, and it is what it is. It is a state. It's a state of well-being in which the individual realizes his or her own abilities and can cope with the normal stresses of life, can work productively and fruitfully, and is able to make a contribution to his or her community. That's from the World Health Organization. But how does mental health in youth affect the mindset? See, mental health problems can put us in thinking traps. like negative self-talk, expecting the worst, obsessing over mistakes, errors, and failures, dismissing small successes and big wins, irrationally overwhelming emotional thoughts and feelings, and then being a victim or feeling like a victim. When I speak with young athletes, I ask them not so much how you are or what's going on, is first and foremost I ask them if they're happy. That usually throws them off, but it also makes them think. And I can read them as well as anybody else with their facial expressions and their answer, of course. And then we can get into discussion of what is really troubling them. When we are concerned with the young and mental health, my concern is much more than, how do I put it, the future for them, of course, but is how harmful and lasting effects that this current pandemic, or what we're going through, we're coming to an end, I hope, we're close to it, that have on the future for their mental health and well-being for our kids in sports in society. I worry as well as at some point the harm and damage the lockdown restrictions happened as we went through them all. The disruption of school, online school, to going to school. I'm not here to blame anybody, especially the government. They were doing the best that they could do. We have to remember we've never gone through this before. Neither had them, the government. What they were doing was the best, their abilities, and thinking logically that would help the general public. I get that. What I don't get and what I disagree with is how certain areas of the government, certain areas of our society act upon this pandemic. Our mental health issues should have, and I hope they will be, looked at a higher standard moving forward. I hope our whole health system itself is looked at with a higher standard moving forward. There was a great article back in early 2021 written by a gentleman, and was published in different newspapers across Canada. And he basically said what regarding the children is he believed that nothing but most significant restriction would get us through this safety. And we all believe that. The things that the government was putting in place for our youth and for our sports was only for the benefit of our safety. Sure, we all would have loved to be in the rink or on the field. And contradictions of why can't I go shopping at a big store and wear a mask, but I can't go play ice hockey out in the open, or play football, baseball out in the open air. Those were things that just didn't make sense. And a lot of stuff still doesn't make sense. I get it. But our children are damaged through this, right in front of our eyes. But we do have the power to help them. But we need to be in the conversation to help. Because kids are not the ones dying in hospital record numbers. That the reality is that does not make their situation any less grave. Simply because kids are not as vocal as an adult. We have to understand the kids, what they're feeling, and voice upon their viewpoints to the public. Kids went through a lot, especially athletes as well, but other kids and other activities that they couldn't attend to, music, drama, so forth. They give up everything they knew and everything they loved for the greater good, if we look at it that way. They had to give up their friends, their extended family, the change of education, the socialization, the sports, just because of their innocence. So I ask, at what point do we prioritize their well-being? That's where I'm getting the point to. Where do we prioritize the youth's well-being? There's no easy answers, no easy solutions. I get that. But we must reflect back on what has happened and learn from it. Just like making a mistake in a game. We reflect on it, we learn from it, and we recover. A couple of points that I wanted to make too in this ramble, if you want to call it, is that the kids' hotline in Canada just grew by substantial numbers. 66% of those reaching out to the Kids Help Phone Canada wide were their ages between 14 and 24. 40% of the Canada-wide calls were due to issues with mental or emotional health. These are stats that we need to look at. 40% of Canada-wide texts are due to relationship issues. 39% are due to anxiety and stress. In Ontario alone, the majority of those reaching the Kids Help Phone are adults, again between 18 to 24, followed by teens between ages of 14 to 17. And unfortunately in Ontario as well, more people are texting for suicide help, which is up 20%, than calling. We need to look at these things. We need to look at them government-wide, local governments, different societies, different organizations. Mind Over Sport is looking into it. I want to help. I want to be involved with the mental health issues as much as possible. So what's the answer, folks? What do we do? There's different ways of helping the youth reduce their stress, their anxiety. Eat proper foods. Take a few minutes of breathing techniques. Learn to laugh, especially at yourself. We're not perfect. Listen to music. Enjoy the sounds. Health-wise, take a walk. Enjoy nature. Each year, 1 in 5 Canadians experience a personal mental health condition. And nutrition is now thought to be as important to mental health as it is to your heart health. I find these facts interesting. I like this to finish off this little segment regarding, there's so much information out on the web, on the internet about mental health. Do your research. Look into it. Even some things, if you're not feeling well, look it up. Coping tools. As I mentioned, the food, the breathing, the body language, facial expressions, how to cope with these things. We also need to, in sports, we cope with using visualization, self-talk, positive self-talk. Do something for yourself every day that makes you feel good. Develop comforting rituals and routines. When you are seeking help or need to help someone, identify a trusted go-to person who you can speak with, talk to. Don't try to be your own doctor yourself. As I say, you can look things up, but those are just superficial answers. You need professional help, you get it. And remember that reaching out is a sign of strength, not weakness. Just like the gymnast, Simone Biles, the U.S. gymnast, who took a break from the actual Olympics while she was there because of mental health issues. Everybody got on her case, one way or another, positive or negative. More positive, thank goodness. But the ones on the negative side of things, some of the comments disgusted me. Oh, she's a professional athlete or a high-end athlete. Mental toughness should be already there. BS. She's human. Remember that. An athlete is a human being. They have emotions, situations in life just like you and me. They just seem that they can handle it better, but in real life, they handled it just like us. Sometimes they hide. I applaud Simone, the gymnast, for stepping out of the comfort zone and saying, I needed some rest. Body was physically, she was fine. Mentally, she wasn't there to compete at a high level. So reaching out is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of strength. I want you all to remember this. And then when you do seek or need professional help, complete it. Commit to it. Remember that. Some red flags if you have a young athlete that you're dealing with that you may want to keep an eye on. Think when the athlete starts to think or act or talk unlike themselves is usually a red flag. Or they start behaving in a violent or irrational way where they're not used to be doing that. Or they self-harm themselves. Or they start, unfortunate, maybe smoking or drinking or taking drugs. Or they withdraw completely. Big red flag there. Or they start feeling and they start expressing this as they feel stuck or paralyzed by worries, fears, anxieties, or depression. And when you have a relationship with an athlete, these are good. These as a coach to an athlete or even the parent to your young athlete, these are some red flags that you need to really, really watch for. Because when they are depressed as an athlete, you always feel you're stuck in a problem, stuck in a situation, and no one can help you. Or they come out and verbally start saying, I'm useless, I'm helpless, I'm powerless, I'm hopeless, I'm not as good as I was or can be. All red flags right there. So I leave you with some thoughts on the mental health of young athletes. My opinions, we need to get more involved. We need to be more aware. We need to talk more about mental health with our athletes. Don't assume everybody's okay. And it's okay to be okay as well. But be involved. I want to be involved. I also want to hear from you out there regarding your opinion on mental health. Your story. What did you do, or what are you doing to help yourself or help someone else that may have some mental health issues. It's nothing to be ashamed of. Like I say right at the beginning, I went through it. And I still go through it. We need to be more considerate of others in the world. We also need to be more grateful for what we do have in the world. If you want to reach out to me, coachnye at mindoversport.com. Anytime. I'm always here. Thanks for joining me. This is a new segment, as I said before. Tape to Tape with Coach Nye. We're going to talk about a lot of different topics over on a weekly basis. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got something out of it. And I hope to hear from you. Until next time, be determined and be the change you want to be. Bye for now.